My girlfriend once told me I should be grateful she even chose to be with me. That other guys would line up around the block for a chance to date her. She said it in front of her friends, all of them laughing, glasses of rosé in hand, like I was supposed to take it as a compliment. I didn't. I just smiled and said, "Then maybe you should let them try." That was the last thing I said to her before walking out of the restaurant. For 3 years, I thought it was love, but really it was ego and performance. I was just making her look perfect online. And somewhere in the middle of all those filters and captions, she forgot I was real. That night I stopped being part of her content. I decided to become the main character in my own story. Ava Monroe and I had been together for 2 years. 2 long, confusing, exhausting years. When people looked at us, they probably thought I was the lucky one. She was beautiful, confident, and the kind of woman who could make a room feel smaller just by walking into it. She knew exactly how to pose, how to laugh, how to make every moment seem spontaneous, even when it wasn't. Ava was an influencer, constantly posting sponsored content and telling her followers to believe in themselves. Behind her posts was my apartment in LA, which she called her content space. I worked as a freelance cinematographer. It wasn't glamorous, but I loved it. Some days I shot commercials, other days weddings or short films for aspiring actors. The hours were unpredictable, and the pay was inconsistent, but the work was mine. Ava didn't see it that way. She used to laugh and say, "You should get into something more stable, like YouTube or brand videography. There's no future in being just the guy behind the camera." That line stuck with me. The guy behind the camera. Because that's exactly what I'd become in her life. The man holding the light while she posed in it. She lived off my stability, but never respected it. Whenever I brought up bills or budgeting, she'd sigh and roll her eyes. "Babe, I'm building something here. You can't expect me to give that up for a 9-to-5 lifestyle." Building something. That's what she always said. But from what I could tell, what she was really building was a version of herself that didn't include me. Her days began with unboxing videos and ended with live streams, and I noticed how she flirted with male followers. She'd flirt shamelessly, calling them cutie, handsome, or my favorite fan. One night I asked, "Doesn't that cross a line?" She laughed. "It's just engagement, Ethan. Don't be so sensitive. You think these guys actually have a chance with me?" That was the problem. She didn't think. She didn't think about how her words made me feel, or how small I was starting to feel next to her inflated online ego. I stayed, telling myself love was patience. But slowly I realized I was just her safety net. I paid the rent, her new phone, and designer clothes, all part of the image she said I wouldn't understand. Maybe I didn't understand. Because what I saw wasn't the same woman I fell in love with. The Ava I met was curious and kind, fascinated by my work. But as her follower count grew, vanity replaced her curiosity. The only stories she cared about were the ones where she was the hero. And I? I was just another background character, the boyfriend her followers knew existed but never saw. Sometimes she'd go live while I sat just a few feet away, watching her laugh for strangers, while ignoring me completely. If I made a sound, she'd mute the mic and glare at me like I'd ruined a scene. One night, she even told her fans, "You know, my boyfriend's so shy. He never likes being on camera." They all commented how cute that was. But the truth? She never once asked if I wanted to be seen. I kept hoping she'd look up from her screen one day and actually see me again. The man who believed in her before the hashtags, before the filters, before the fame. But that day never came. The more I tried to hold on, the faster she drifted toward the spotlight. And deep down, I think she loved knowing that I was still in the shadows, waiting, watching, and too loyal to walk away, at least until the night she told me I should feel lucky to have her. That was the night something in me finally broke. The breaking point came on a Friday night. Ava dragged me to a rooftop dinner with influencer friends. All obsessed with followers and sponsorships, everyone was dressed to impress. Cameras out. Every drink, every laugh, every bite of food recorded for someone's story. I already felt out of place. My shirt wasn't designer, my shoes weren't new, and the only thing I cared about documenting was the sunset. Ava was in her element. She was laughing louder than usual, leaning across the table to whisper things to people she barely knew, performing for the cameras like she'd been born to do it. I sat quietly beside her, smiling when she introduced me as her boyfriend, Ethan. He's a cinematographer or something. Or something. The words stung more than I wanted to admit. Halfway through dinner, the conversation turned to relationships. Someone joked about how hard it was to find men who can handle successful women. Ava laughed. That big, fake influencer laugh, and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Ethan should feel lucky I'm even dating him. Out there are guys lining up for me." Like, literally. I get DMs every day. The table erupted in laughter. Phones were already out. Someone recording a clip for their story, capturing the moment like it was all part of a comedy show. I just sat there staring at her. She didn't look at me when she said it. She didn't even seem to notice me anymore. That's when I smiled. Not the polite kind, but the kind that comes right before a storm. I took a sip of water, set the glass down, and said softly, "Then maybe you should let them try." Her laughter and everyone else's stopped. I straightened my jacket and said, "If I'm supposed to be lucky to have you, maybe you should see life without me." I placed my napkin on the table, gave the group a polite nod, and walked away. Behind me I heard laughter again, forced, nervous. Someone whispered, "Is he serious?" Another voice, probably Ava's, said, "He'll be back." He always comes back. But I didn't. I drove straight home, heart pounding, not from anger but from clarity. For the first time, everything made sense. All the times I'd been made to feel small, all the moments she'd turned me into background noise. That night I packed my things. Camera gear, clothes, toothbrush, a photo of us I didn't even realize I still had. I left the keys on the counter, changed the locks the next morning, and blocked her on everything. By noon the next day, I already knew she'd seen it coming. A mutual friend sent me screenshots of her stories. Ava had posted a carousel of photos, her at the same restaurant, smiling like nothing had happened. The caption read, "Sometimes people can't handle your light. That's okay. Keep shining." The comments were full of sympathy. "You deserve better, Queen." He couldn't handle the pressure. His loss. Maybe once that would have hurt. But now all I felt was relief. I turned off my phone and went for a drive along the coast. The sun was setting. Golden light spilling across the ocean like it was forgiving me for staying too long. I didn't cry. I didn't even smile. I just breathed. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't have to think about lighting, angles, or filters. For the first time, I wasn't behind the camera trying to make someone else look perfect. I was just me. That night, I stayed at a friend's place. The room was small and smelled faintly of old coffee and paint thinner, but it was mine for now. He handed me a beer, sat beside me, and asked, "You good, man?" I thought for a moment before answering. "Yeah, I think I finally am." It didn't feel like a breakup. It felt like waking up. A few weeks after I left Ava, life slowly started finding a rhythm again. I was working non-stop. Smaller gigs, commercials, weddings, anything that kept me busy enough not to think about her. For the first time in years, I was doing things on my own terms. No brand lighting, no fake smiles, no one complaining that the camera wasn't catching their good side. Just work. Simple, honest work. Then came the indie film offer. A small low-budget project that needed someone reliable behind the camera. That's how I met Lila Torres. She was nothing like Ava. Unlike Ava, Lila was calm, grounded, and treated everyone equally on set. Seeing my footage, she said I captured people's real moments. I joked it was because I'd filmed so many fake ones, and she just smiled. By the end of the shoot, Lila had invited me to her film's premiere. "Come with me," she said. "You helped bring it to life." I hesitated. Events like that weren't my scene, but something about the way she asked made it hard to say no. At the premiere, I felt out of place until Lila waved me over. She smiled, we joked, and the cameras flashed photographers shouting her name. "Lila! Over here!" And soon they turned their cameras toward me too. For the first time, I wasn't the guy behind the lens. I was in the frame. The next morning, the photos were everywhere. Entertainment blogs, celebrity gossip pages, Twitter trends. Rising star Lila Torres walks the red carpet with mystery cinematographer. Who's the man beside Hollywood's sweetheart? It was wild. My phone buzzed non-stop. Old friends, co-workers, even clients sending me links and congratulations. I didn't care much about the attention, but I'll admit, it felt good to be seen for once. Then Ava noticed, posting cryptic stories and liking comments calling me disloyal. She told her followers I'd used her for connections, that I pretended to support her career, while secretly wanting fame for myself. It didn't take long for people to catch on, not to her story, but to the holes in it. A few of her old friends, the same ones who laughed that night at dinner, started commenting things like, "Didn't you say he wasn't good enough for you? Pretty sure you were the one posting single and glowing before he left. Girl, don't act like you didn't make him pay for your rent." The screenshots spread faster than her lies. Her follower count began to drop. Brands quietly pulled out of partnerships. A makeup company she'd worked with for months unfollowed her overnight. Then one of her ex-best friends, the same one who filmed that dinner, posted a TikTok. It was short. A clip of Ava saying, "Ethan should feel lucky I'm even with him," followed by a screenshot of the headline, "Cinematographer Ethan Cole appears with rising star Lila Torres." The caption read, "Guess luck ran out." It went viral within hours. Ava tried to fight back, posting teary videos, saying she was being bullied, that people love tearing women down. But the internet had already decided. They didn't buy it. The girl who built her brand on perfection had finally met the one thing she couldn't edit: karma. I didn't feel joy watching it happen. Just closure, because for once I didn't have to explain myself. The truth spoke louder than I ever could. Meanwhile, life went on. Lila and I kept in touch. We started meeting up for coffee, sharing stories from set, swapping playlists. There was no pressure, no labels, just a quiet, steady connection that grew naturally. One night, after a long shoot, I told her about Ava. Not everything, just the parts that still stung. She listened without judgment, then said something I'll never forget. "Some people only know how to take light. Others help you find it again." I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time I realized I'd stopped thinking about Ava completely. Lila wasn't a rebound. She was a reminder that love doesn't demand you shrink yourself to fit someone else's spotlight. The next morning, a friend texted me one last screenshot. Ava's page was gone, deleted, and for me, that silence was enough. Months passed after Ava disappeared from social media. The noise faded, the hashtags died, and the world moved on to its next story. But I didn't need an audience anymore. Work had picked up, not because of the premiere photos, but because people started recognizing my work. Directors, musicians, small brands, they wanted my eye, not my name. For once, I was behind the camera because I wanted to be, not because someone needed a prop to look good beside them. Lila and I kept in touch, slowly, naturally, without pressure. We texted, met for coffee when our schedules aligned, and talked about everything except fame. She told me once that she liked how quiet I was, that I didn't need to fill every silence. I told her that I liked how she looked at the world. Curious, unfiltered, real. Months later, I led another indie film. Lila joked I was finally the one people noticed. I smiled, feeling quiet, genuine peace. One evening, after wrapping up a long shoot, Lila and I drove out to the hills just outside the city. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of gold and pink. She climbed up on the hood of my car, swinging her legs like a kid, and asked, "Do you ever think about her?" "About Ava?" "Sometimes," I said, "but not in a bad way. I think about how long I let myself believe I was lucky just to be there." She tilted her head, studying me for a second. "And now I realize I wasn't lucky to have her. She was lucky that I stayed as long as I did." Lila smiled, the kind of soft, understanding smile that doesn't need words. "You know," she said, "you have this way of making pain sound poetic." I laughed. "Maybe that's just how you survive it." We sat there for a while, watching the city lights flicker to life below us. There was no need for music, no need for words, just the quiet hum of the world moving forward. Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I opened my phone and searched for Ava's name. Nothing. Her account was still gone. A few old photos lingered on other pages, relics of a life that no longer existed. For a brief moment, I wondered where she was, if she was okay, if she'd learned anything. But then I realized it didn't matter, not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but because that chapter was truly over. Her story didn't need an ending. Mine had already found one. I looked over at Lila, who had fallen asleep against my shoulder, and something inside me settled. I spent so long helping others look good, until I finally learned to find my own light. When I dropped her off later that night, she kissed me on the cheek and said, "See you tomorrow, Mr. Cinematographer." And for the first time in a long time, I actually looked forward to tomorrow. I parked and watched the city from my car. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's building a life where their absence doesn't matter. Ava once told me I should feel lucky to have her. But standing there, camera in hand, peace in my chest and a future waiting, I finally understood what real luck feels like.